AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's rock!
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, presented by LouisianaSports.net. I'm Matt.
You're a loser, Matt!
Shut up, kid. Cassie Spazzali.
Look what you made me do. Look what you made me do.
Muse.
I'm a Barbie girl in the Barbie world.
And Mr. Toby Tom Blake. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. Shea Dixon in 15 minutes from right now. Drew Brees on his way to Canton, Ohio. Well, he's physically there already. But Bo Lowry, maybe nobody associated with the Saints worked with Drew Brees more than Bo Lowry. He'll join us in about 90 minutes from right now. Ross Jackson, Hour 3. Aaron Murray will be here today. A lot to do. Let us begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
The LSU Tigers opened up fall camp on Wednesday with a morning practice. Here Thursday, they'll practice in the evening. So that's something that Lane Kiffin is sort of integrating morning and night practices. You would have to assume to simulate playing in night games like LSU will do for a bulk of this season. So actually after the show, we'll head over to LSU for our availability. We'll get you a report tonight at LouisianaSports.net and on my Locked on LSU podcast, so be on the lookout for it there. Thursday morning, the Saints were back out on the practice field, and it was a former LSU Tiger who continues to turn heads. Of the showstopper, the camp darling so far continues to be former LSU wide receiver Barion Brown, who Kellen Moore, after practice, day 7 here on Thursday, talked about Brown and his continuous ability to make these plays down the field.
Yeah, I think just ball tracking, being able to attack the football. I think he does a really good job of that. And then, obviously he's able to utilize the speed that he has, and I think that's obviously an asset to his. Man, Kellen Moore is a very understated person. Got a call earlier today from Ross Jackson. He was asking a question about the site, Louisiana Sports, and just about phrasing something. And he was just gushing about Barion Brown. And I think the reason primarily why this is standing out so much is because of the investment the Saints have made at the receiver position. I mean, we know they paid Chris Olave $33 million. Jordan Tyson was the 9th overall pick. And we're not talking about those guys throughout the first 7 training camp practices. We're talking about Barion Brown, a 6th-round pick who was the 3rd of 3 receivers taken in this most recent draft by the Saints. And there was one thing that was a certainty when the Saints picked Brown, and that was he was going to have a giant role on special teams. Remember, last year in 2025, New Orleans was 22nd in the NFL in kickoff return and punt return average. They were 22nd in kickoff return and 22nd in punt return average. They were at the bottom of the league. And it makes sense, right? I mean, they traded Rashid Shaheed, and after that, you had a hodgepodge of various receivers and running backs who were taking over those duties. They were very bad in the return game a season ago, in large part, again, because of the Shaheed trade at the trade deadline. And Barion Brown, during his college career, 3 years at Kentucky, 1 year at LSU, set an SEC record with 6 career kickoff returns for touchdowns. He was one shy, by the way, of tying the college football record, which is 7. Math.
So dude over 4 years was an explosive, dynamic kick and punt returner. He did that at LSU a year ago. And that was, look, as a 6th-round pick, you're looking at a guy who was a productive receiver, not an overly productive receiver, but was a productive receiver in the Southeastern Conference, but had dynamic return ability. And that's a guy that you look and go, okay, well, he's probably the number 5 or 6 receiver on the team, but he makes the team because of his ability to help in special teams. It gives you receiver depth. Like, that was the idea. He was going to make the team absolutely as a return specialist. I think that would go without saying. But the question was, could he actually develop into a receiver instead of just a return specialist? And that's something that Brown talked about after practice today, is establishing himself on offense.
Got to keep going, man. I hate that I keep saying this, but it's the honest to God truth. Just keep going. Like, never get too high, never get too low. I can't go home and be too happy and all this, or can't go home and be too low on myself. So just always looking to get better, whether it's good plays or bad plays. The best plays, me and Coach are still in there. He coaching me up on, okay, you can do this better, you can do this better. And on the bad plays, he's still coaching me up. So just always looking to get better.
You know, Brown was last year in fall camp, if I went back and thumbed through my notes, every day it seemed Barion Brown hit a big play. I remember I was doing it the day LSU played Clemson in the opener last year. I did an interview on one of these sports betting shows. It was the day of the game. It was a Saturday. It was the day of the game, and they one of the networks, I forget, VSiN was one of the networks. I forget, one of the sports betting networks that produces content. They wanted me to help preview the game, not from a sports betting standpoint, just previewing the game. And I did give them a prop bet. I was like, look, you want a prop bet? I said, take the under, because I thought the under would hit. And well, that wasn't a prop bet, it was total. But I said, take the under in the game. Everyone was betting the over, and that just screamed a defensive game, and ultimately it was. I said, and bet Barion Brown and Trey'Dez Green anytime touchdown if you can find it. Well, Trey'Dez scored, as you remember, and Barion got robbed. He had a touchdown taken off the board by a controversial review. But the point was, like, we saw that every day in camp. Nuss trusted him. They took shots with him, and he delivered over and over again. The odd thing about Barion Brown is the numbers never really supported that in his college career. Over 4 college seasons, he had a total of 2,060 receiving yards. I heard Hunt say this. He wrote it at LouisianaSports.net earlier in the week. Barion Brown, in 3 years at Kentucky, had fewer receiving yards combined in the 3 years than Malik Neighbors had in 2023. Neighbors had more receiving yards in 1 year than Brown had in 3 years at Kentucky. Well, why is that? Well, his quarterbacks were Will Levis, Devin Leary, and then the combination of Brock Vandegrift and Cutter Boley. That'll do it. So the thought was, a year ago, Barion Brown comes to LSU. Nussmeier was a 4,000-yard passer, plug and play. This explosive receiver is going to have this monster year. And then we know what happened with the LSU passing game. Nuss had the cyst on his back. It limited him, and the passing game never got going last year for LSU. Nuss, and then Michael Van Buren wasn't very good either. So Brown was sort of plagued during his college career, despite his great ability, by drops, which were a thing for Brown throughout his career, but also very poor quarterback play and bad offenses. And as a result, he ended up being a 6th-round pick and a guy who never really popped statistically. But now you're seeing it in a receiver-friendly offense where he has opportunity after the first 2 guys with a quarterback who's established and settled to get in there and spread his wings. And so you're seeing it. I mean, we know Olave is there after signing the $33 million extension. And Jordan Tyson's going to be featured as well because you used the 9th pick in the draft on him. But we asked the question after Jalen Polk retired, who benefits the most? Because everybody has the opportunity now sort of to move up a chair. And the early answer is Barion Brown. We could say Devon Vele, but remember, Devon Vele was atrocious for 2/3 of the season, that the portion which he played. In the last few games before he got injured, he started to become a more productive player. But he has to prove he can do it over 17 weeks. He is not. Bryce Lance is in the same boat as Barion Brown. Now, he was drafted higher than Brown, but both are rookies coming in. Brown played 4 years of major college football. Lance is coming in from North Dakota State. different levels entirely. So maybe you're talking about a clearer path for Brown, possibly to even be the number 3. I'm not trying to get ahead of myself. I'm just saying it is very clear that so far through 7 practices, every day Barion Brown is making plays. He's talking about it. The coaches are talking about it. Teammates are talking about it. Media is writing and talking about it. Now he's got to go do it in preseason games. First is a week from Saturday against Jacksonville. And then he'll have to carry it into the regular season. So you continue this ramp up of intensity and expectation and all that sort of stuff and the opportunity to deliver. But so far, Barion Brown has earned those opportunities to be that first guy after Olave and Jordan Tyson. It's going to be fascinating to watch. Barion Brown is going to be the return specialist. He's going to make this team as a return specialist. Like that's almost a certainty. He's healthy. He's that guy. He's making the team. But can he factor in to the offense as well? He's fighting for elbow room at the table and winning a lot right now. It's going to be an interesting one to watch as training camp rolls along for the New Orleans Saints. All right, it's after further review. Show Up and Every Day is brought to you by Bud Light. Drink easy with a great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of AFR, the official beer of your New Orleans Saints. Of course, you're going to be in the Dome. Get that foam in the Dome. Drink easy with a great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of the Saints. They got the officially licensed Bud Light Saints cans as well, black cans with the gold fleur-de-lis, and the officially licensed beer of the LSU Tigers. You can find the officially licensed packages all over at retailers all over town. So grab delicious ice-cold Bud Light and drink easy with the great taste of the Tigers and the Saints. Bud Light, the official beer of AFR. All right, it's after further review. We're glad you're with us. We missed Shea Dixon on Tuesday. He had a little bit of a conflict. It actually worked out really well because Ahmad Hudson has made some comments that have gotten a lot of people's attention. Easton Royal has set a few visits that he's going to be taking during the season. So we'll get an update on that stuff with Shea Dixon when we continue. Stay here. It's AFR.
AFR.
Get Gordon and get it done. Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. If you've been injured in an accident, it's not your fault. Do what injured people in our state have done for 3 decades. Get Gordon and get it done. Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. Always encourage you to go check out Gordon's socials at Get Gordon on every social platform. They do a good job of content creation. Some of it's fun. Gordon showing behind the scenes of how they make his billboard ads and all that stuff. And a lot of times it's testimonials from actual clients that have gone to court or gotten a settlement with their insurance company that Gordon and his team have represented and gotten them what they deserve. If you want to see client testimonials, you can do that at the website as well, the types of cases they handle. No matter what corner of Louisiana you're in, there's a Gordon McKernan Injury Attorney's office near you. So you'll have a qualified team going to bat for you in your local market wherever you are. Just dial 888-8888, 888-8888, or go to getgordon.com. Get Gordon and get it done.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
Hopefully everybody can exhale. Ahmad Hudson, not super pumped apparently about how things are going right now, with some sort of cryptic comments. Anyway, let's bring Shea Dixon on to talk a little bit about it. We missed Shea on Tuesday, had a little scheduling conflict, but we're able to circle back here on Thursday, and I think it actually is going to work out better because we can talk about these updates from Ahmad Hudson and of course, Easton Royal. Shea, thanks for the time, man. How are you?
Well, I love how you describe scheduling conflict as if there was some large back and forth. I just simply told me so. I can't do Tuesday. Can we do another day?
Well, I would assume you couldn't do Tuesday because there's a scheduling conflict.
Fair. No, now I just choose to say I didn't feel like doing it. No, there was a scheduling conflict. I knew that we'd have way more to talk about if we could just wait a couple days.
Well, I don't know if I believe that, but if that's the case, God bless. Amazing, because I'm glad it worked out this way. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the Ahmad Hudson comments, where I'm paraphrasing, but effectively Ahmad Hudson said, I'm looking for the exact quote.
I'll give you the quote if you want it.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
Okay, so Ahmad Hudson at Ruston, 5-star, committed to LSU. He's a tight end, top tight end in the country, one of them. Heir apparent to Trey Green is also committed to play basketball. And Nebraska has been the other team in the mix, and they've been heavy on him during the McMahon era. Fred Hoiberg and the Nebraska basketball team were heavy on him, maybe even more so than the football program was. But ultimately commits to LSU. goes through the summer, visits both, 6 with LSU, and we're in the middle of a 2-month dead period, so not much recruiting news comes out. But yesterday, he did an interview at the Nebraska site, and exact quote was, "The program you wouldn't expect to be doing their job to try to get me to come there is doing what they need to do. The program you would most expect it from is not doing what they need to do." Now, I think immediately, Matt, everyone said football, right? Like that's who he's committed to. Like, is Lane dropping the ball? What's going on here? In fact, based on and look, I'll cut to the chase here in a second, but how quickly fans can react. I don't know if Joe Cox, who's the tight ends coach, the co-OC here at LSU, and people our age remember Joe Cox. He played at Georgia. He was a quarterback. I would guess that he probably hasn't been yelled at like that by fans since he was a quarterback at Georgia, because everyone presumed he's talking about football. He's not talking about football. He is saying Fred Hoiberg in Nebraska is prioritizing him in basketball, and that he wants to see the same from LSU. Well, LSU went through this transition period. Wade gets hired. He's still putting together his roster right now. And we talked about on the official visit in June when he came for football. He's committed for football, but he'll also play basketball. They led that official visit off with him and his mom sitting down with Will Wade for hours talking about his role. And this is, look, Trey Dez played basketball for what, Matt? A few games or whatever?
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. Ahmad Hudson is someone who can help LSU in basketball. Like, he is good enough to play here. So then again, Will Wade and them are still trying to put together this roster. So let's just say message received. And anywhere from Will Wade to Johnny Jones to you name it on that staff will be speaking with Ahmad and his mother as often as it takes moving forward. And it's not just Ahmad. They're not talking really to any of those guys who are, a year away from being on the roster, because by and large, they're just trying to put together this year's roster. And, I'm having to do it in short order. But per sources, Matt, I think I can tell you 3-4 phone calls from between Lane and Will yesterday to make the plan of, hey, this is how he's feeling. Well, let's get together and figure this out. And I think, look, he feels all this love from Nebraska. He makes the comment. I don't think LSU went knee jerk on it and blew up his phone all night, but they know they've got until December to keep him committed, and they're going to do what they've got to do. And I often say this, it's my motto, watch what they do, not what they say. And what has Ahmad done? He goes to Ruston. He committed to LSU. He could have committed to Nebraska. He could have flipped to Nebraska. He hasn't flipped to Nebraska. He could have decommitted from LSU. Not decommitted from LSU. So I just think he is kind of in the midst of right now a really good AAU run. He's out in California right now with the AAU stuff. So I think he's just wanting to feel a little bit more love on the basketball side. And I'm not going to doubt what Will Wade and Rick Stansberry and Johnny Jones and Stoudemire and all those guys can do when it comes to recruiting. They know what they're doing. So they'll answer the bell. I am not pressing the panic meter. And I told fans on my board they owe Joe Cox an apology because this is not football related.
Can I ask one follow-up there, Shea? Because I've seen some suggest that Hudson would play basketball in Will's first team. Let's say he signs. The plan's for him to sign in December, I would guess, yes?
That is right.
Okay, so if he signs in December, could he play in this coming spring for Will Wade on Wade's first team?
You could. That'd be tough. Remember that, I couldn't remember his name, but they had an early enrollee for McMahon who was supposed to still be in high school, early enrolled, but essentially kind of redshirt. It was like, you're just not ready yet. But you could. I think even the bigger, now we've stretched it further than just the reality of, can somebody play two sports when they're that good at football? And he's good enough to play basketball. He's going to do both. But look, we'll see. I think time will tell there. I thought the point you might get to is, if he's trying to look, Nebraska won their first ever basketball tournament game last year. It's not like there's some powerhouse there. LSU obviously has won plenty of tournament games. And football wise, if you're signing in December, what they play a few non-con basketball games before he signs. So you want to compare the two programs in football? Let's see how they both fare this year. And he's already said he's making multiple LSU visits. In the interview at the Nebraska site, said he'll be visiting LSU all the time and may make it out to a Nebraska football game. So I think he just made a comment. It goes viral. It was part of a longer story where he talked about things, and obviously he's talking to the Nebraska side about it, and just saying they haven't let up. So I'm not pressing the panic button here. He is going to be the person that Trey hands the baton over to when it comes to that next guy up at tight end who can, and he's a bit different. He can inline block very well, but juggling both is tough. And Matt, we're old enough to remember when a guy graduated from Southern Lab, another from Christian Life, and told Nick Saban they wanted to play both sports. And I believe John Brady just ran him to death and didn't let anybody touch a basketball. And they both walked back over to Nick Saban and said, "Basketball isn't very fun. You don't really ever get to play basketball." Mission accomplished, right? But we'll see how it goes. But I do want to reiterate this: like Trey is a good basketball player. He's a first-round pick in the NFL.
Yeah.
Ahmad Hudson's it will be able to play on the LSU basketball team. So this will be a good case study of like, how does someone balance playing both sports when we know spring football is paramount and all these things that could set you back with your development early on, when there's an expectation that you are going to play right away as a freshman for the football team, which is the team you are on scholarship for, which is the team that is paying high school NIL, that will pay your NIL in college, all those different things. So football's priority, but he is definitely good enough to be on the basketball team.
Shea Dixon is with us at Shea Dixon on 3. Let's switch gears, talk a little bit about Easton Royal. I know we talk about it every week and have for as long as Easton Royal has been recruited, but we finally have, right? I mean, we finally have something, I guess, of an update that we know Easton Royal has set some recruiting visits in the season. LSU, Florida, Texas will be at all of them. What do you make of the 4 visits that he set?
We're going right back to my recruiting mantra. Watch what they do, not what they say. He has been committed to Texas since a few days before Lane got hired in November, and made visits nonstop, him and his mom. And Coach O being back, I guess I'll steal his line. He often says, identify the champion, like who's the person that is most influential in a 17-year-old's recruitment, and it's Easton's mom. It's Ahmad's mom as well. But Easton and his mom had been over plenty for unofficial visits in the spring practices. He made his official visit to LSU, Texas, Florida, all while being committed to Texas. There was buzz he might flip. He ends up taking this into, inching closer to his senior year at Brother Martin. But he told Sam Spiegelman at Rivals yesterday that he has locked in 4 visits. He'll go to Texas on September 12th. But before that, he will be in Death Valley, the home opener, the Lane Kiffin opener. Boy, will that be an atmosphere on September 5th. So right away, you get him on campus, and then he'll be back November 14th for the Texas game. So you're going to have him on campus twice. He's also going to, in September, sort of back-to-back weekends almost, Matt, he's going to go to Florida and check them out. And I've said this on the show before. If this were an LSU commit from Texas, and he's making all these visits, and he's making more visits to Texas than he does LSU, everyone would say, this kid's flipping. He's not like, let's move on type thing. Well, you're not moving on from the number 1 receiver in the country, but you're holding on tight, and that's where Texas is right now, is just hold on for dear life almost. I think that for LSU, they're in a really good spot. And now, has he flipped? No, but I've always said that by signing day, I think he's a Tiger. And if they play well, Matt, like if they're putting up points this year and they're in the national media, let alone locally, like he can't avoid that. He hears about it at school, he hears about it on the radio on his drive home, and it's everywhere. So I think that, yes, Easton, my prediction is still that he winds up at LSU. And if I'm an LSU fan, I'm very happy to hear that he is going to be at that home opener, because we are in a 2-month dead period, and that will be the very first time since late June when he was on LSU's campus that he will see any coaches at any school, and it will be at LSU. So, I guess for LSU fans, if you see Easton at the game, do whatever you do, hold up your signs or I don't know, whatever people do these days to try to convince recruits to come to school. But I'd feel good about it if I'm an LSU fan.
All right, Shea Dixon's with us from On3, the Bengal Tiger. Hey, before you go, I know this dead period's going on. Obviously, Hudson and Royal are two massive prospects. People ask all the time about Jalen Brewster. Is there any update there with the big number one defensive lineman out of Texas who's committed to Texas Tech?
Yeah, Cedar Hill kid, who really, if he doesn't end up at at Texas Tech, everyone thinks he's probably going to end up at LSU. But just in the past couple of days, look, Steve Wiltfong, our national rivals analyst, wrote an article and said that he still feels, that people in Lubbock feel good, but so do people on the LSU side. And then Sam wrote an article today about it and sort of echoed the same, saying that, hey, look, all this talk about Hudson and Royal, don't forget that they are all Brewster, number one D lineman, number one overall player in the country. So they're still in the mix here, and it's him or bust because they've got players at D tackle right now, right? So you don't have to go stock up on high school kids. This is the kind of kid you want to go get. So evidently, as Wiltfong reported, he is nearing a final decision. We'll see what that means. But hey, look, you just keep swinging if you're LSU, and NIL is going to come into play, but if they weren't in the ballpark, we wouldn't even be discussing this right now. So I do think that he is very much having to think this one over, and that involves his dad, his agent, and everyone else. So we'll see. But look, between Wiltfong and Sam, who cover it from a national perspective, and certainly know people on both sides, sources-wise at Tech and LSU are saying, hey, look, keep an eye on LSU here. This one isn't dead yet.
He's Shea Dixon from On3, the Bengal Tiger, at Shea Dixon. Visits with us each week here, talk a little recruiting. Appreciate it, Shady. Thanks, man. That was rude.
I don't think Shea just hung up on us.
I think he hung up.
You think he hung up on us?
That was really rude.
Oh, man, Shea.
He was pissed at me and just said, I'm out.
We accommodated the schedule switch for him. He just hangs up on us?
That guy. Tell you what. It's after further review. Brought to you by Hancock Whitney Bank, official banking partner of the LSU Tigers, official banking partner of the New Orleans Saints. Y'all, Hancock Whitney has over 180 branches and over 200 ATMs across Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Texas, Florida. So, really anywhere you go in the most of the SEC footprint, you can find your bank if you bank with Hancock Whitney. Love doing business with Hancock Whitney. They are my bank. You want to be a card-carrying member of the Who Dat Nation or Tiger Nation, you can do it. They got the purple and gold debit card for LSU, the black and gold debit card for the Saints. You can either the black or the gold debit card for the Saints. I have the gold one. You can pick yours at HancockWhitney.com/Matt, M-A-T-T, my name. I love it, man. It's my bank, and then now I have my own custom URL for my bank. HancockWhitney.com/Matt, M-A-T-T. Check it out. Hancock Whitney, official banking partner of LSU Tigers and the official banking partner of the New Orleans Saints. All right, y'all. Glad you're aboard with us here. Drew Brees is going to be inducted in the Pro Football Hall of Fame on Saturday. You know that. 1 hour from right now, Bo Lowry is going to join us. Bo spent 9 years as the performance director for the New Orleans Saints. So, quite literally every day when guys would go in and get treatment, Bo Lowry was the guy running all that. There's just nobody off the field in that organization that knew or had a closer relationship with Drew than Bo Lowry. And Sean Payton, Bo was here at LSU. He replaced Jack Marucci as the head athletic trainer when Jack moved into his new role. And Bo was planning to be here forever. And then Sean Payton got the job in Denver, called him and said, hey, I want you to come run my stuff in Denver. And so Bo's now with the Broncos. But Bo Lowry and Sean Payton are going to be on a PJ Friday morning to Canton. Sean, of course, is going to be presenting Drew Brees, and Bo will be there as well. Bo's going to join us in 1 hour. We'll talk a little bit about this honor and just a side of Drew Brees away from the field that maybe many don't see. We're looking forward to that conversation with a great guy. All right, it's after further review. Let me knock out a quick break. We'll come back and go around the SEC. Stick around.
AFR.
I was at the Lane Kiffin press conference yesterday, and it's pretty cool. The new mic flag, which is the logo on the microphone, which you see, it's called a mic flag if you're not familiar. It's Rev Fiber. Rev, proud partner of LSU Athletics. So every time you see Lane Kiffin at a microphone doing a press conference, you're going to see that Rev Fiber logo. And, of course, their great support of LSU Athletics. REV, revfiber.com, revfiber.com, revfiber.com. For your home or for your business. Business owners, this is like an important thing to note. Every business owner tries to figure, okay, how can we improve the bottom line? Let's increase revenue or decrease expenses. Well, one of the expenses you probably auto draft every month is your internet, your cable, your phone, whatever, security, automation, all that sort of stuff. What if you're overpaying? Like, what if you can get a better price, better customer service, a better product? Rev Fiber can help. Get that quote today. REV, revfiber.com, revfiber.com, revfiber.com. Do you love America? If the answer is yes, and you need a metal building, then you should call ProForm Steel. Because every single material made in America, every single material they use on their metal buildings at ProForm Steel, everything, all of it, American made. ProFormLA.com. Go to the website. You can get your quote at ProFormLA.com. There's a little blue button right at the top. Tap it, request a quote. You pick the size, style, color, doors, submit the form. You will get a call back the same day from ProForm Steel. They're local. Brandon Golson and his team are awesome. Brandon is actually like he's on the state licensing board. So you know you're going to get a great ethical businessman who's going to do great work. And by the way, if you buy a metal building from ProForm Steel, they will deliver it for free. Any size, no exceptions, free delivery from ProForm Steel. Online, ProFormLA.com.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
There was an event up in Nashville the last 3 days, a symposium on recruiting. It's called the Personnel and Recruiting Symposium. I did check, and LSU had 2 staff members in attendance. Jeff Martin went, and Morgan Phillips went, representing LSU. Some 1,600 people that attended. Pete Nakos has a post up at On3, kind of talking a little bit about it. I reached out today to Sam Kahn as well. You might remember Sam Kahn, who covered the SEC for a long time for ESPN. He's now with The Athletic. And Sam is going to come on the show tomorrow to talk a little bit about this. And I did reach out to try to see if I can get either Jeff or Morgan from LSU to come on. I don't know if that's going to work. And just respectfully, I know Lane has a policy where he does not let his assistant coaches do interviews. We will get, during fall camp, one press conference with the coordinators, one with Blake Baker, that's next Friday, and then the following Friday, Charlie Weiss. But that's it. And he doesn't – I hope they make exceptions. We'll see. But anyway, so I don't know necessarily if he'll allow a sports staff member to come on, but it's a fascinating event. There's some 1,600 people there from – media and recruiting and front office, player personnel directors, and talking about all different types of stuff about transfer portal and these how to do NIL deals with high school recruits. A lot of general managers across the country are pushing for a salary cap now, which could be part of the PCSA, the Protect College Sports Act. And the other thing that I think is going to be fascinating when you look at this is if the Protect College Sports Act goes into effect. And this may be the most interesting thing as a fan, for your knowledge to keep an eye on as the Protect College Sports Act moves through, just for the immediacy, is remember, if that gets passed, the portal window that will open in January would be affected by the new hard cap. So all of these teams, all these schools are beginning portal prep already. It's fast. I was talking to an agent. This was right before we left for SEC Media Days. So it's been about 2 weeks. I was talking to an agent, and he was telling me, like, they begin their portal prep in the summer for the January portal. Like, how is that possible, considering you don't know who's going in the portal? But they're preparing for the possibility of their clients going in the portal. What might they garner? What are the comps? What schools might be interested? So all that to say, you have agents already thinking about the January portal. And so clearly your recruiters, coaches, player personnel directors are thinking it and preparing for it as well. But all of that could shift if the Protect College Sports Act passes, which would obviously, it would revert to the one-time transfer limit. So players who have already transferred wouldn't be able to transfer again. It would put a hard cap on the rosters, which would limit what you could pay. And then what about retroactive contracts that were multi-year deals that are already done? You see my point? Like, it becomes really complex how you piece together a roster. So this symposium, this 3-day symposium in Nashville that happened Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of this week, be fascinating to get a little peek behind the curtain. So Sam Kahn's going to join us tomorrow to talk about all that. Try to make it work today. The timing didn't work. So Sam will be with us tomorrow to talk about. We'll see if we can get some of the LSU folks who are up there to join us as well. All right, it's After Further Review. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll go around the SEC in just a second. Let me remind you about Parish Restoration. ParishRestoration.com. ParishRestoration.com. Kill mold, remove odor, and other harmful pathogens. It's Parish Restoration. Super easy, y'all. Go to ParishRestoration.com. You can fill out the form on the homepage. They'll give you an estimate of what it would cost to dry fog your home, your office building, commercial facility, whatever it is. If you have mold or think you might, Parish Restoration can help get rid of it in a blink. They can dry fog your home in half a day. So come in, they'll spray their fog, close up all the doors, let it dwell, kill everything down to the spores. As soon as the fog dissipates, boom, you're back in free, clear, clean, smelling, healthy, safe, mold-free. Parish Restoration. ParishRestoration.com. Okay, do it every day about this time. Let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference. The Alabama Crimson Tide.
Offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb was asked about the quarterback competition. Of course, it's senior Austin Mack and sophomore Keelan Russell who are competing for the starting job right now. Mack entering his third year with the Crimson Tide. His fourth under Kalen DeBoer. He came over from Washington. Russell's the former five-stars entering year two, played sparingly last year. And Grubb said both guys are growing. It's an extension of summer. Not yet in a position to name a starter.
The South Carolina Gamecocks.
Shane Beamer updated the latest on Dylan Stewart and Jacarius Peak. Said both will be ready to go at the start of the season. Same situation. They've had good checkups, updates from the doctor last week. Stewart is recovering from a back injury that limited him in the second half a year ago. Peak had a knee injury that he suffered during a team-organized basketball game back in February.
The Tennessee Volunteers.
Ethan Davis, tight end, did not practice Thursday. Apparently that was a precautionary measure. Tight end coach Alec Ablin told reporters. Davis appeared to tweak an ankle during a jump ball drill during practice on Wednesday. The fourth-year tight end continued to practice during the open portion, but did not practice on Thursday. Had 36 catches a year ago, played in 24 games with 4 starts.
The Arkansas Razorbacks.
And former Razorback catcher has been added to the baseball staff. Casey Opitz is returning to Fayetteville as an offensive assistant. Colorado native. Former catcher joins Hudson Polk, who joined the staff at Hutchinson. He replaces Polk, who joined the staff at Hutchinson Community College last week. Opitz played at plays at Arkansas from 18 to 21, started 125 times across 148 games played. Okay, there you have it. That is around the SEC. Glad to have you hanging out with us. Remember, you can always get us audio, video, and written word at louisianasports.net. Always free, no paywalls, louisianasports.net, louisianasports.net. Check it out. As a matter of fact, I think Ross Jackson's Saints practice report is up if you want to check it. I'm trying to refresh the website right now. But lots of good stuff up there, and it's always free. Check it out, louisianasports.net. All right, let me knock out a quick break, y'all. We'll come back. Mention Drew Brees going to the Pro Football Hall of Fame this weekend. Bill Barnwell over at ESPN had a great piece, and he looked at current, active players in the NFL who are on a Hall of Fame trajectory. And there's a lot of former Tigers and current Saints that we need to discuss. I'll tell you what he said. Stick around here. It's AFR.
After further review.
Buying or selling, commercial or residential. Think real estate. Think Darren James. Agent225.com. Agent225.com. One more time. Agent225.com for Darren James. Hey, I want to remind you, there's a really cool feature at the website. A lot of you have done this before. If you haven't, it's really worth doing right now. If you're a homeowner and you want to know what your home is worth, really easy. Go to agent225.com. There's the home value tool. If you're on desktop, it's bottom right. If you're on mobile, just scroll down. You see it says home value, and there's a line. Just literally just type in your address and hit enter, and they'll use local market data. There's the big national firms, which that's fine and good, but local market data is going to have more insight into, has some new development been built around you? What about comps near you? All that sort of stuff. So if you want to know what your home is worth, use the home value tool at agent225.com, agent225.com for Darren James.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
All right, wrapping up hour number one. Drew Brees is going to be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame coming up on Saturday. It's going to be just an amazing day for New Orleans, for the Saints franchise, just the whole organization, everyone who has spent time cheering for, rooting for, considering Drew Brees during his career and everything that he meant to the organization, to the city, the state, the region. It's all things we've talked about a million times. The stories have been written. The books have been written. Brees at a time in his career where he was coming off of injury, the city coming off of Hurricane Katrina, and then their sort of conjoined rebirths all the way to a championship. It's incredible. I mean, it's the type of stuff that it's cliche to say, you could write a movie sort of thing, but it's true. I mean, it's like a Hollywood script. But it also, whenever this rolls around, either when the voting process happens or when the Hall of Fame induction ceremony comes around, it begs other questions about who might be next. Bill Barnwell did a really good job. He's got a piece up at ESPN.com where he looked at players currently in the NFL and their Hall of Fame chances. And the way he sort of broke it down was players that are in, players that are sort of on the cusp, players who just need to keep it up, players with work to do, and then players that are missing out. So, for example, as far as the New Orleans Saints, he's got Cam Jordan on the cusp. Now, I actually disagree with him on Cam Jordan being on the cusp. I think Cam Jordan is going to be a Pro Football Hall of Famer. The other one he mentioned was Alvin Kamara, who he has missing out. And look, Kamara's career started great. The problem for Kamara is he hasn't stayed healthy enough to accumulate enough statistics to be in that category. But Cam Jordan is a really fascinating one because after this 10.5 season, he's already met the threshold for players in the NFL who, if you look at the career NFL sack leaders, all time, there's sort of this threshold that you could look. I know we've talked about this before. This isn't anything new. This isn't like a groundbreaking idea that we're just talking about for the first time ever. But there's a threshold whereby everybody who hits a certain number of sacks, they get in the Hall of Fame or will be in the Hall of Fame. So if you look at the official all-time leaders and guys sack, if you get 125 sacks, you're in. So, for example, and this is the official leader list, right? So Dwight Freeney had 125.5 sacks in his career. Everyone above him is in or will be in. For example, Von Miller is still active, so he'll be in. John Abraham had 133.5. Leslie O'Neal had 132.5. Leslie O'Neal might be sort of the exception right now, lingering, but that's on the official list. If you look at sort of the unofficial sack leaders, Terrell Suggs, who will get in likely one day, Von Miller, and then as we mentioned, John Abraham, and Leslie O'Neal. Cam Jordan on the unofficial sack list is already at 132 sacks. So Cam Jordan has already hit that threshold. Like, he's going to get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And after another season this year, let's say he does half the numbers he did a year ago and gets to 5 sacks this year, he'd be at 137, which means he'd be there with John Randall, Richard Dent, DeMarcus Ware. Like, Cam Jordan is going to be a Pro Football Hall of Famer. Like, that is going to happen. So I would disagree with the on the cusp. Like, he's going to be in. It's also interesting to look at some of the LSU guys. And if you look at the 2019 team, he looks at 4 players from that team alone with Burrow, Chase, Jefferson, and Stingley. Now, you got a long way to go for all of those players. But you're talking about players that are on that trajectory. And then younger players like Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, Daniil Hunter, who has had an exceptional NFL career relative to the college career he had, where he just couldn't quite ever develop into an edge rusher. But he's got 104. Daniil Hunter, remember I just told you that threshold of 125. Daniil Hunter's already at 114 and a half sacks. He's 37th all time. Like, he's right. He's actually tied with J.J. Watt. Like, let that sink in. Daniil Hunter is tied for career sacks with J.J. Watt at 114 and a half. So while Daniil Hunter hasn't been a multi-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year winner, like, he's on that trajectory that should, stay healthy and play that level another 5 years. He'll be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Odell Beckham is the other one, too, that's just fascinating because he started off on an unmistakable Hall of Fame track, but injuries very likely derailed that and won't land him in Canton. But a fun conversation to have, and certainly plenty that we'll be watching each year heretofore with the Hall of Fame vote coming up. All right, it's after further review. We're glad you're hanging out with us here. SportsCenter's coming up. We get you caught up on national headlines. One thing after Lane Kiffin met with reporters a day ago after practice we didn't get to on yesterday's show was Lane Kiffin discussing tempo and how it affects Sam Levitt. We're going to get to that next on AFR.
After further review.
We're brought to you by Arco Power Systems, ARCCO, Arco.com, Arco.com, Arco.com. It's Arco Power Systems, ARCCO. Industrial Generac Generator Power. That's what we're talking about with Arco, and we talk about it every single day, and we also say to you every single day that the most important time to call Arco to develop your plan is before the storm comes. When the storm's in the Gulf, it's too late. You need to be proactive. In Arco, everything is turnkey. They sell, service, install, rent your industrial Generac generators. They're the backbone that supports the region when people are getting through the hurricane. They've literally had Blackhawks and National Guard members pick up their workers and take them into these disaster zones to get power back on and get their generators up and rolling in certain spots. It's Arco Power Systems, ARCCO, Arco.com, Arco.com, Arco.com. Be proactive. Call our friends at Arco Power Systems, ARCCO, Arco.com.